Thanks, Nicole. So welcome from my side as well, and congratulations to Sasha and Darva for the success with zIIP implementation, and glad to have helped you throughout that journey. And it was through COVID times, remember, so everything remote, and but all went well, and that's good to hear. So, but I think actually Sasha paved the road here. So you facilitated my life because you talked a lot about zIIP and what are the benefits and how you could implement this and deploy. So that was really easy my job now. But let's go to the topic, and I would like to start by looking at our portfolio timeline. So we started with the zIIP solutions in 2012, okay? And we consider it a really a huge success. And maybe it's important to talk about why it's a big success. Darva is a clear example, and thanks for again for the testimony about this. But it's a solution that it's only not affecting the operational technical side of the house, but also have a good acceptance on the business side. The CFO, the CEO, they love this because they receive more, let's say, ways to manage the increasing workload. And differently from what we hear from the market, that the mainframe market is decreasing, and Arno pointed out that it's not that true, that's not correct. And we see in real life that's actually the opposite. And the success of zIIP proves that, because we help customers to manage the increasing workload that happens on a daily basis. That's the reality, okay? And zIIP was very important for that. And also to address a bit of Ilan's point on the billing model. So why zIIP is important also in terms of different billing models with IBM. So what zIIP actually does. So we save golden rule of zIIP solutions from Software AG, reduce the CP usage. And the CP usage is the usage that really is accounted for the billing from IBM and from other independent software providers. So if we reduce the CP, then that's good. And we do that by offloading that workload into zIIP. So that's what it does. And customers might have different billing models with IBM. The old rolling 4-hour method, which takes the peak of the month, and then that's what it's taken into consideration. But a more recent model, which is the tailor-fit pricing model, TFP, which is a new way that IBM is doing with customers, and this is growing and growing as we see in the market. And in this model, the peak is not important, but every MSU counts. Doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. in the morning or if it's 2 p.m., business time, every MSU counts. So that's good for us. That's good for zIIP. That's good for the customers using zIIP, because they even benefit further. If it's rolling 4-hour, we can reduce the peak, hopefully. If it's tailor-fit pricing, we reduce MSU everywhere, and then the accounted MSU at the end of the month is also reduced dramatically, and that's where the benefit comes from, okay? But then we grow the family. In 2017, we started with Natural Kicks and Natural Under Complete to address another question. So we also support online environments, which was kind of a demand from the market as we saw the progress of the portfolio. And in 2018, then Adabas starts to be supported, and also the Adabas add-ons. And that was really key, because then you can see we can have what we call internally full zIIP stack, meaning batch processing with Natural, Adabas databases, and some of the add-ons that I will comment, but also the online part. So that completes the picture, the nice picture that we typically challenge the customer to have a look at. And in 2019, Natural IMS also. We have some footprint of IMS installations, and then we decided also to cover Natural under IMS. And another thing that people like is the fact that it's a no-risk deployment. So you can implement it at no risk really. So don't expect too much drilling problems, really. If you do a good preparation, and that's what we help you to do, like we had with Darva, you can go very smoothly. So it's not comparable to landing here in Dublin with a 60-kilometer-per-hour wind in the plane, like we had on Saturday. For those who landed here on Saturday, you know what I mean. So, and it's immediate cost savings, as I explained it, rolling 4-hour tailor-fit pricing, doesn't matter. Customer will win, will save with that. And performance improvement, that's also instantly. Day one, automatically an increase of processing power capacity, as we saw many, many times. And we have even situations where during a POC, the customer says, we cannot turn off the POC. We need to go on because it's really, I cannot cross the corridor here if I shut down zIIP now because of the good response times we have instantly. So that's excellent. But what I wanted to tell you today is a kind of a different view of it. So once we install it, we are happy, then that's good. It looks like it's a turn-on thing. It's a key that you turn. Now we are ready to go, and we are going, and we don't need to do anything else. Well, that's not exactly true, because like any other solution, it might happen that you need to be reviewing your environment, especially because if we find opportunities to increase the offloading capability of our products, then it's more savings for you, more capacity becomes available to process. So that's something that I would like to talk about today, okay? Looking on how to optimize and what to look for, what things you should care, okay? Obviously, I'm not talking about sort of Tamagotchi type of thing that you need to be 24-hour looking, but here and then you need to select some things to look and review, okay? And here you see the 3 groups that I commented. The Adabas, let's say family. On the left, you see the natural for batch for zIIP, which covers the batch part of the natural processing, and also the natural for kicks for zIIP part. And to be honest, we also have complete and also IMS, as I commented. I just don't mention here because of the size, but it's also obviously supported. We have this as well. And typically what we need to look after. So if you installed zIIP long ago and things have evolved on our R&D side and we are learning from customers globally and we are improving things, so it's very important for all of them to have a look at the versions, fixes, and solutions. And you see that the laser pointed here in Ireland is green, just because we are in Ireland, not red like usually. So that's something to look after. Keep contact with Empower and the global support to see if there is something new about enhancement in this area, okay? But on the Adabas side, we need to look at statistics. We have the zIIP offloading. Sasha showed one example of that. We need especially to look into zIIP switches. That's our threat. So why we had 75% of load in a natural batch process instead of 99? Most likely, there is some zIIP switches that we need to look after. So zIIP switches means we need to go out of SRB mode, meaning running on zIIP, and back to the TCB mode, which is running on the CP processor for whatever reason. But those reasons we know, and we print them for you. And then it helps us to determine areas of improvement, and that's what we need to look. And this is valid also, as you see, for all the components, okay? zIIP switches might happen anywhere. In terms of optimization, so we also need to think that Adabas utilities can be zIIP enabled, a good number of them. And some customers does not even know about it. I faced these situations where I was asked about this in an Adabas customer, and we say, we can improve this, we can increase the efficiency. And then we started looking at these things. Adabas add-ons as well. So, for example, entire network and Adabas review, these are components from our portfolio that can use the Adabas zIIP license key, and you can then zIIP enable those components as well. So that's a major thing, and some customers are not aware of that. So you can take advantage of eventually taking, let's say, 80% of the Adabas review CPU to the zip. So it's another win that you can have with the same, it's a bonus, I would say, with the same license key. Event Replicator for Adabas for zip, for those customers using Event Replicator, they should look at having the option to zip enable it. It's a different license key, it's a license component, differently from Review Network that can reuse Adabas zip license, but really worth to have, because you can then move the footprint of the replicator off, also down to the zip, okay? In terms of natural online and batch, we also need to take care of the natural authorized service manager and the role server. I will talk more about role server in a moment, and that's important because typically the ASM, the authorized service manager, is where we deploy some nice enhancements, okay? Like we had with the pulse transfer enhancement that we did on natural ASM version 9.1. So having higher versions, top versions with full ZAPid is the recommended way to go to take advantage of the most efficiency on zip. Let's look at Adabas, okay? So what we need to look for is always this number here in green. Sorry, it's too small, but in this example, 86%. It's good, kind of average for us. What I recommend, if it's something below 80, then I would not say there is a problem. I would not rate it like that, but I would say we need to investigate because there is some room for improvement. Let's put it that way, okay? Because we have some benchmarks by looking globally in the customers, so something below 80 we need to look after. Obviously, SRB, TCB switches, so that's also what we need to look for. And here's a typical, let's say, standard accepted way or report. EXCPs, so zip processors cannot do IOs, therefore we need EXCPs. This causes switches, and the others are totally normal. If you see something different from this, unusual, then we can have a look, okay? But coming back here, see, in this report, we could detect, and here a question from our colleague from South Africa, I guess, mentioning the customer that has 3 zips. And this is a real-life report from a customer where I detected that they are really running out of zip capacity. So this shows that they would benefit heavily by having one additional zip processor turned on in the machine, because we see 7.51% of the Adabas CPU that could be processed on zip, but actually was processed on CP. So that means lack of zip availability, and one zip processor would definitely help in this case, okay? So that's what we need to look. CPU times, zip efficiency, zip on GP in this case, and if it's below, the zip efficiency is below 80, I would say there is room for something, some improvement on that. In this particular case, also just to mention to you, we also print the zip normalization factor, which is a very important metric for us, because it tells us how fast is your zip compared to your GP. So in this case, it's a 1-to-1. So zip is just as fast as CP. But we have different scenarios. Sasha, for example, showed a rate of 8.12, I noted, which means their zip is much faster than CP, exactly because of his explanation. So the zip runs totally unthrottled, while CPs, depending on the machine model that you have from IBM, runs kind of capped. Okay? And about the multi-threading that was mentioned also by a colleague down there. So in this case, we are already having SMT of 2, okay? We see customers with SMT of 4. So this is a parameter that you can play with the IBM configuration on ZOS side. So some recommendations about Adabas. When available, please apply all the zip-related fixes. If you do run client add-ons, FastPath, Adabas Vista, Adabas Soft Security, or Adabas Transaction Manager, those are the client add-ons that we name them, and they typically rely on the Adabas System Coordinator. So System Coordinator also supports zip, and please apply the latest patches. One of the major reasons of switches in Adabas Nucleus are unpatched Adabas System Coordinator or unpatched load libraries from the client add-on. So that's important hint. Check and improve overall database efficiency, LBP size, large buffer pool. The more we reduce Adabas IOs, the better for zIIP, because we reduce the switches. Therefore, if you increase your LBP, if you tune the LBP, and that's what, for example, we did when Sasha, we were doing the POC, and I typically, when I join the POCs and I'm supporting the customers during POC times, I typically look at the Adabas performance as well, because it's important for the efficiency of zIIP, as we see. So that's why we got so good results by tuning zIIP. Sometimes the Adabas is running for some months or some years, and some tuning might be required. So we take advantage and do that as well. Implementation of the Adabas caching facility, which is a option to also help reduce IOs, would also be beneficial for zIIP. Try to avoid third-party tools plugged into the Adabas user exits. We cannot run third-party tools on zIIP, therefore we need to switch to process them. So if you can avoid, the better. For user exit 4, we have a special solution. If customers are having user exit 4, we have a user exit 4 zIIP filtering solution to try to minimize the invocation of the exit 4 from the customer. So by reducing the calls, we also increase efficiency of zIIP. And last one, I just jump next, because some customers also during POCs, I revisit all these aspects, and if the customer is using SPATs, which is stored procedures and triggers in Adabas, I say, guys, let's zIIP enable that natural nucleus that runs as a subtask inside the Adabas address space, because if you have, obviously, requires natural for batch for zIIP licensing. If you do have those, you can enable your nucleus to run SPATs inside your Adabas nucleus, also with zIIP. So it's, again, a win situation. Many customers were not aware that this was possible, although they use it to have natural batch zIIP. Okay, so here you see the message, Adabas nucleus, starting in a message to say that the zIIP enabler was done for the natural nucleus inside Adabas nucleus. Now we jump for natural, and we have on the left here a KICS example. In this case here, zIIP normalization factor 2.54, so you can really see different normalization factors depending on the mainframe model, as I mentioned. And this KICS here is doing quite good, 95% of loading in a KICS environment. KICS is more challenging because natural is not alone typically. So the more, let's say, competitors or non-natural applications running together side by side, too much assembly routines. So this is typical on KICS environments, but this one was very good. As you see, quite nice. But I would like to focus more on the zIIP switches that we see down here, maybe too small, but that's where we really take advantage to detect potential areas for improvements, okay? So looking at this, we have kind of standard, we have experience to see what can be improved. Obviously, this is still a startup KICS, not too much things were done here, but you see, for example, RPC to ETB. So this KICS is not using our solution that allows the natural, the entire access stub for natural to be zIIP enabled. We see that by the number of switches for this particular component. And every component that creates a switch, we name them uniquely so that we can say, okay, this is the reason, and now what can we do to improve this? Some of them we cannot do anything, unfortunately, but most of them we can do something, and that's part of the optimization that we do, okay? Here on batch, this batch, very similar to what Darva had, 99.94%. It's really typical. If it's pure natural Adabas, we can see those numbers. But I would say it's not also unusual to see 90, 92, 95%. But if something is below 90, then there is potential areas for improvement. We could have a look, and especially starting from the zIIP switch statistics down here, okay? That's what we look for improvement in this area. Some, let's say, some recommendations. I will not read all of them. no worries, don't worry about it. I would not read, but just to give this in the document for you after, if you download this, we see some recommendations here, and one of them I just mentioned, use the entire X broker stub, not ETB Z, Z for zip specifically. This is good for RPCs, and also in case of ACI. ACI are basically natural servers, pure natural applications, which could be zip enabled. And for Darva, for example, we used this module, and we then reduced the RPC to ETB dramatically. Actually, this goes down to 3. Always only 3 switches happens for your address space of a natural ACI server or RPC server. If you are using a sort, try to use internal sort, for example, and then extend the caching capability of your internal sort. That helps a lot if you are using sort. IUG size parameter is a parameter from the NT-zip macro that you can use to also save switches for reading of parameters at natural batch startup time of the nucleus. X event, if you need to use RDC size not to 0 because you have a third-party monitoring tool for natural, for example, BMC main view, try to figure out what events are really necessary for main view, and then use the X event filtering mechanism that we created exactly to shrink the number of collected RDC events. You don't need to collect everything if it's not really used afterwards by the monitoring tool. So just shrink to the number of events that you really need. That helps a lot. So you have all of these things you can look afterwards. And the last one here is about the role server. Role server under kicks as an example, which is more typical in our customer base. So that's a recommendation that I really like, and I put a slide especially for it. That's how the role server works. So role server is not new. It was not created with zip. It was already there as one of the rolling functionalities that we cover in Natural. It's becoming now more, let's say, relevant because not only because of zip, because we decided to deprecate the swap pool, which was largely used in the past. Swap pool will go away at some moment, and we recommend strongly the role server, because then we can, here you see in the upper part the kicks region, and in the lower part the role server region. And the role server, when you have zip under kicks, the role server can do the compression and decompression of the natural threads, and it's able to read the memory within the kicks region directly and compress and decompress it, and load this into the slots of the role server. This is done only by zip processing. So that's excellent, really excellent for the customer which is doing this. This removes dramatically the memory constraints on zip side, and reduce the CPU consumed by kicks as well. So it's another win that you can have by using the role server. And the role server is there. It's just configure and use it. And if you have natural for kicks for zip, then you magically can compress and decompress using the zip processors as well. This is done automatically, and the setup is not complex. And I'm really challenging customers, helping customers. I helped a couple of them to do this, and they are really happy with the processing here. And the throughput also can be reduced on kick size, because we also recommend with zip avoiding or moving the natural shared threads into natural get main threads, because then we remove the enqueuing and dequeuing mechanism that is required by natural under kicks. So that's very important for performance under kicks. Okay? And this is an example of a zip enablement of a customer together with the natural role server. So this is a comparison of 2 days of processing, September 19 versus September 21. And before zip, you see a peak here of 40% CPU. And this is an LPAR with 6,000 to 7,000 natural users under kicks in many different natural regions. And in the day that we activated zip, we see a reduction of the peak from 40 to 25. So it's a reduction of almost 40% CPU in total. And this was before Adabas. So this is purely natural. If we could combine Adabas here, I'm pretty sure, based on the benchmark and experience we had, this would drop even further, like we saw with Darva. Okay, just an example. But life is not perfect, and we also contact customers, and customers contact us, zIIP customers, and whenever there is potential areas for improvement, we are happy to hear that. And this came to the Natural product management team, Ellie is here, based on a demand from a customer, and through AHA, I believe. And what was the problem here? A lot of switches to invoke 3GL routine, specifically in this case to write SMF records. So all of us know on mainframe side what are SMF records. I will not go into that, but this customer write millions of SMF records during the day, and this obviously caused a lot of millions of switches just to do that. And there is no way. A lot of switches are involved in this, CMO call, CM load, CM delete, and this happened millions of times. So they approached us, and can we do something to improve in this case? And what Natural R&D produced was a mechanism where obviously we enhanced our Natural Authorized Service Manager, which is required in version 9.2 in this particular case, okay? And we created a Natural API, and you know our Natural APIs, the things that start with USR and sits on the sys.ext library of the Natural installation. And then we created this solution where a Natural API is there, and you can just call the Natural API using this nice interface that I document here, using this small call-not statement, and bingo. This is done fully on zIIP. So this customer could now help the efficiency of their zIIP environment dramatically by using this solution. So all in all, calling 3GL is a problem for zIIP? No, it's not a problem. We just need to switch because it's a 3GL from the customer, is not natural code, cannot run on zIIP. This is going to happen, but how can we optimize this? So basically, you need to learn in your environment which external modules are called most often. What is the reason for this external module? What does it bring? Is it really necessary nowadays? Can the functionality be replaced by natural? If it's natural, it's zIIP enabled, then that's the best that you can have. If that's possible, that's good. Is the functionality available already natural for whatever reason, for a statement or something? No. If not, okay, please contact us. Let's discuss technically if there is some room for a solution that we can build. It would be interesting for us to learn about it, okay? So our natural offering on zIIP side keeps growing. So we didn't stop in 2019 with the natural MS, but we are growing, and the reason for the growth is the fact that we detected that our natural DB2 customers were not experiencing the same value or the same efficiency for their environments on zIIP compared to the natural Adabas customers. So we saw potential area for improvement here, and natural PM alongside with natural R&D working on this area. And then we created natural batch for DB2 for zIIP. That's our new member of the family, I would say. And to make a long story short, what does it do at the end of the day? And this is just for you to compare what role does it play to improve the efficiency of our natural batch with DB2 environment. So 3 setups here, 1, 2, and 3. Look at the colors, please. Red, obviously, running on GP. That's what we don't want. We want to reduce this as much as possible. And green runs on zIIP. That's what we want to enlarge as much as possible. So if we compared setup number 1 just with natural and natural DB2 without any zIIP enablement, everything runs on GP. That's the worst case scenario, right? But then customers zIIP enable natural batch, and then part of the CPU starts to move to zIIP. But it's still not a big portion, as you see by the red bar here, processed non-GP. So that's exactly what we're looking for. Let's say, let's rethink this story and try to rewrite something that allows us to have more zIIP efficiency. And that's what we did when we combined natural batch zIIP with the new solution natural batch for DB2 for zIIP. Then you see the green bar, and it's even invading the DB2 side. So how is that possible? That's possible because we created a new technology. We not created new technology. We are exploring a technology that exists, which is JDBC type 4 communication from DB2 side. And by doing that, we also changed the way that we communicate from the natural batch nucleus into the DB2 nucleus. And by doing that, IBM also allows DB2 to offload up to 60% of the CPU on DB2 side of the house to zIIP. So customer is winning 2 times here, on the natural side of the house, but also on the DB2 nucleus side of the house. So it's the best scenario. And we are looking to distribute the solution to customers because we think that this is an excellent, efficient improvement for those DB2 customers, okay? And here, quickly, an example. Before in DZ, so we have a zIIP offloading rate of 49% with a program which is fetching 500,000 rows from a DB2 table, and we are having a lot of DB2 access switches, as you see. Almost the same number of rows we have in switches here. So that's the red bar we saw in the middle in the setup number 2, and the elapsed time of 4 minutes 9 seconds. With NDZ, what we can do here is basically increase to almost 87%, okay, and a reduction of the GP time dramatically here, okay? And obviously the DB2 switches are gone, and the elapsed time of the job reduces dramatically. So that's what NDZ, our new solution, is all about. Good, time is over, clock is ticking, and let me give you a summary here. My takeaways for you today, please monitor your Adabas Natural zIIP environment, look for the zIIP switches, let's look for potential areas for improvement. That's good for you, you take more value out of our solutions. Count on us, Software AG team and Software AG experts on zIIP for a free assessment, okay? We can help you evaluate your environment, so that we can do that. I've been doing that many times. Please count on us for this. And if you are a Natural DB2 customer, please consider our new solution, Natural Batch for DB2 for zIIP, because it will increase your efficiency dramatically, as we saw before. Okay? So with that, I come to an end. And if there are questions, although I'm over time. So.
That's okay. We'll take questions while our next speakers go ahead and get their mics.
Thank you.
The Adabas, the offloading for natural for DB2 for zIIP, does it also goes for the RPC server if it's running batch, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay. I have to tell you. Oh, let's first, Luciano, before you leave. zIIP is like a marketer's dream product. It just results, and we marketers don't have to do a thing about it. It sells itself. Thank you, Luciano.
Welcome.